All right, welcome my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. So today we're going to get started with just what I've been reading starting these first 2 weeks of January. And we will get into my opinions on the First Law trilogy, The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie. But first, let's start with what I've been reading. So I did start Child of Light by Terry Brooks, and I still got about 100 pages left, but so far so good. This is Terry Brooks. We will be talking about this next week. I probably will finish it today, but we'll get to this next week. Next, I will be reading, after I finish Child of Light by Terry Brooks, I will be starting Star Wars, Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising by Timothy Zahn. I guess they need as many titles in this book as possible. Timothy Zahn did do a prior trilogy about Thrawn in the Star Wars universe, and it was awesome. And I'm very excited to see what he's going to write about in this novel. It's really cool. Look at these. It's got blue, bordered pages. Of course, Thrawn is blue. His skin is blue, so we'll be starting that as soon as I finish Child of Light. I did finish Paper Girls. Now this is book 3. I made a mistake. I did say I thought book 4 was out. There is no book 4 because book 3 is the final book. Now I did see online that Amazon has optioned this story for either a TV series or a TV show. I know COVID kind of put the hold on this for a while, so I'm not sure when it's going to come out, or how sometimes they don't ever see the light of day, but they did option to turn this into some type of media option. So hopefully that'll be good. It's basically 4 girls that are paper girls. They deliver papers in the morning. They get into some weird stuff and eventually find themselves in different times. They become time travelers, and you'll see what kind of adventures they get into. Really, the best part of this is the story was fun, but as I've shown before, the artwork is really cool. I love the color work in this book. All right, so after I finish that graphic novel, I will be moving on to The Hound of the Baskerville. It's a graphic novel, of course, by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes. Very popular story of his, but this is in comic book form once again. Looks really cool, looks pretty interesting. We'll be hitting that next. That's short. I'll read right through that. So after that, I will be hitting Call of Cthulhu and Dagon, a graphic novel of H.P. Lovecraft. I love H.P. Lovecraft. He's one of my favorite horror authors of all time, and I can't wait to dive into this. Again, it's a graphic novel. Actually, Dagon is one of my favorite stories by Lovecraft, so it probably won't be hard to get through this book either. All right, this is what everyone came here for. The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Now, this is the first book, of course, in his First Law trilogy. And I will be upfront with you. I listened to this on audio. I did not read the actual novel. I have it. Now, it was read by Steve Pacey. I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Pacey. He did a wonderful job reading this book. He also did some other books. He did a lot of Doctor Who novels, but he also did Let Me In. And that book is awesome. If you've never read Let Me In, it's by John Lindquist. This novel is awesome. They did make a movie of it. It's a Scandinavian movie with subtitles. If you watch it, the original movie, it was awesome. I loved it. But they did remake it in America, and actually it's not bad either. If you never saw the first movie or didn't read that book, anyways, let's get on to this. So, what did I think about this book. I did not like it. I didn't like it at all. And it wasn't the reader. It wasn't Stephen Pacey. He did a great job. But I just wasn't, I found myself drifting. I wasn't captivated by anything in this novel. Now, let me talk a little bit about it. First off, is it grimdark? I don't know. Please, somebody tell me in the comments. Please, somebody educate me in the comments. What is grimdark? What makes it grimdark? Is it because there's no really good character? There's no main protagonist? Everyone seems to be morally gray or even worse in the novel. Maybe that's makes it grimdark. I wonder if the use of the words piss and shit make it grimdark. I have this picture in my head, and believe me, I'm not slamming anybody. I'm not slamming the author of this book by any means. I am just telling you how I feel about it. I have this picture in my head that Joe Abercrombie was sitting with his friends in a pub, having a couple pints. You know, he's talking about writing this novel. And one of his buddies says, "Hey, Joe, I'll bet you $100 that you can't use the word piss and shit in your book 1,000 times. And Joe stands up and says, "Hold my beer." Because he uses the words piss and shit more than anybody I've ever read in a novel. Does that make it grimdark? I don't know, maybe. But please, somebody tell me why it's grimdark. I have no idea. I even saw some interviews with Joe. I watched about 8 hours of interviews with Joe about this series and about this book. And he even says, I don't know why people are calling it grimdark. He says, you know, I felt that I had one good classic fantasy novel in me. So this is the beginning of that series. So maybe that's, he doesn't even think it's grimdark. He's known now as the Lord of Grimdark. I don't think he even likes that. He doesn't feel that he's the Lord of Grimdark, but I'm sure he enjoys the attention. He seems to be a great guy. I just did not like the book. Reasons. A lot of people say that his characters are amazing in this book. I don't understand it. Yes, there are a ton of characters. There's Logan Ninefingers. He's basically a berserker. There's Baez. He's the first of the Magi, or is he? We need to find out, right? There's Glokta. He's an inquisitor, really just a flat-out ruthless bastard. There's Pharaoh, and actually Pharaoh is probably one of my favorite characters in the novel, but you don't even see her introduced until halfway through the novel, and she's just a crazy killer. She's awesome. Giselle, there's Wes, there's you could go on and on. There's a ton of characters. The problem I have with it is there are so many, you don't spend really enough time with them to really get to know them. There is no character development throughout the whole book. Pretty much how you meet the character when you first are introduced to the character is exactly how that character remains through the whole novel. They have certain words or phrases that they use, and he will repeat them several times. Yes, when you start reading, you do know exactly who that character is, but there is no development. They don't grow, they don't change, nothing. And I understand. People are saying that this is basically a huge novel that was broken down into 3 parts. And the first novel, of course, is the beginning where we meet everybody. But you could do some character growth, I would think. None. Another problem that I have with this is there's no real world building. You don't really go anywhere. You know, it's not an adventure yet. I think it becomes an adventure. You pretty much stay in the same place the whole novel. So you don't get a lot of world building. I like world building. I'm not talking about info dumps. I don't particularly love these long info dumps, but you can do some type of world building. The same thing, you know, with the magic system. There's magic in this world, but the laws or the rules of this magic system are non-existent. You have no idea from how they're producing their magic. You know, I do like magic systems in books. They almost become another character to me, and I enjoy seeing sometimes the growth of a character in the use of the magic, but there really is none of that in this book. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about that other than it just kind of just brought me down. They say that you've got to read his battles and his fights are amazing. I have a problem with that. There is, in this book, there's a huge part of the story that involves fencing and tournament fencing. Now, I was going to go ahead and put on some chainmail and my fencing gear and pull out my swords and do a little demonstration of the beautiful art of defense and show you what fencing is. But what he describes in this book has no resemblance to any fencing tournament, fencing reading, fencing studying, watching, practicing, anything with the beautiful art of defense that I personally have ever seen or known or been a part of. Now, I understand. I never wanted to be that guy, you know, that says, oh, well, that 130-pound girl could never shoot a .357 Magnum that fast running down the stairs and that accurately. I never wanted to be that guy, but I understand. If you love something or something that, you know, you're very passionate about or knowledgeable about, like I am with fencing, when you read a description of that and it's totally not representative of anything that you've ever seen, it does take you out of the novel. And I, unfortunately, was every time they started talking about fencing, it just removed me from the novel because I was so upset. There's no backswing in fencing. There's no overhead swinging in fencing. Let me tell you, I can kill you with my rapier at 6 feet. I can make a good, well-timed lunge and kill you at 6 feet. I can make a step and a lunge at 9 feet and kill you. If you took the time to take an overhead swing at me, I will pierce your eyeball and your brain with my rapier before you get your hand over your head. It's just how it is. There isn't this cutting, slashing that he described. There is no heavy weapons. They're too heavy. The art of defense is fast, quick. You use the point to penetrate and kill your opponent. You don't slash them. You don't cut them. I've never seen anyone get their blade, rapier, foil, epee, while fencing, knocked out of their hand. Hit so hard that you knock the sword out of their hand. This has never happened in my experience, but it happens several times in this story. So I'm going to get down off my high horse there. It's just something that removed me more from the book, and you know, not good for me. But you may enjoy it. You know, I'm not saying anything here that you shouldn't read this book. I'm saying that I did not enjoy it. Now, what was good about the novel? Well, a couple things. I love this version. This version with the white cover is awesome. I really like it sitting on the shelf, especially with the second trilogy that's come out. They're white. I do like this. It's I think it's great. So I do love the cover of the book. What else do I like about the book? Well, not a lot. But I will say, about the last 50 pages of the book, things started happening. Now, is that enough to make me want to continue and read the second book? Maybe. Again, I was told it's really an epic novel broken into 3 parts. So you have the beginning, the middle, and the end. So let me get through the beginning. Maybe the second book will start picking up. I'm not going to DNF it, but we will see. I think what I'm going to do is definitely physically read the second novel. I'm not going to listen to it. I don't know why. Maybe that threw me out of it as well. I'm nervous. I don't want to get to the point where I'm reading a novel just to read it. I want to enjoy it. I will say one of my favorite booktubers out there is Mike from Mike's Reviews. And Mike loves this series. Now, he did do a video, saying the good and the bad. And he did mention a lot of the things that I just mentioned too. Now, he did say, read the first book, then read the second book. And after you've read the first 2, you may as well read the third one, because the third one will bring it all together and you'll see how wonderful this series is. I don't know. Do I want to read 2 shitty novels to get to the good third one? I don't know. But I'm going to give it a try. I will physically read the second one and see where that takes me. Alrighty, friends. That's my opinion. That's my read for First Law Trilogy, The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. I'm not telling you not to read it, because there are a ton of you out there that have already read it and love this. It just wasn't for me. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. Peace out.